Now let's talk about something called OOP Basics. And first of all, OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming. Now those of you who are coming from a C or a Java world, or you've been doing C# prior to 2008, you know exactly what this is. For those of you who have not been in that kind of world, you're going to be a little fuzzy. And without offending anybody, it's going to be very possible that if you're coming from even the VB environment, you may not totally have a grasp on this, or you may not totally be using it to its best advantage. Okay, so one thing I would strongly encourage you to do is go out and find some other information, and here's a shameless marketing alert again, but I included some things about object-oriented programming in my Visual Studio course. There's some other excellent authors out there with VTC that have talked about object-oriented programming. Grab some of those courses, take a look at that. You can also find some excellent information in third-party books out there in the bookstores and on Amazon.com and those kind of places. But object-oriented programming is, that's the end of the shameless marketing alert, by the way. But object-oriented programming is really a programming methodology. It's a different way of constructing and organizing the program. And with this, we are going to use objects to carry out functionality. And the way we do that is an object carries out certain specific related units of functionality, and these objects mimic real-life entities. Now, what does that mean? Well, I want you to think about writing an application for a veterinary's clinic, and a veterinarian, I'm sorry. And obviously people bring their pets in and for various medical treatments. Now, if you're going to write an application for that using object-oriented programming, you're going to describe the process. You know, customers bring their animals in and the doctor treats them. Well, if you just listen to the nouns there, customers bring their animals in and the doctor treats them. So we're going to have, first of all, three objects right off the top: customers, animals, and doctors. Now think about the animal object. What happens to animals in a veterinarian's clinic? Well, they get weighed. They have a name, they have a breed, so those are properties. But the veterinarian will do things to them. They will feed them if they're keeping them. They will house them or board them. They will give them injections for various ailments. You know, they'll do all kinds of things to them. They'll perform surgery on them if they need it, and so forth. So we're going to put those basics into these objects. Now, in the C# world, these objects that I'm talking about right here become classes, and we instantiate objects from those classes, and you'll see that a little bit later. So we're going to organize around our objects instead of just a group of actions, and we're going to organize also around the data rather than the logic that creates that data. Now there's an easier, more translation or an English translation of what I'm saying here, and that is, in the old days, before object-oriented programming, we wrote programs and we numbered the lines, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. When we did that and we ran the program, it always ran linear in an ascending order through each one of those lines. And the only way we could prevent it from doing that was to use things like go-to statements or branching and that sort of thing. And it made it, first of all, very complicated to write complex programs, because they got really long, and it also made it very tough to make changes, because a change on line 30 could have all kind of implications all the way down through the hundreds or thousands of lines of code. So with object-oriented programming, the benefits it gives us is that the program is organized around the objects performing the actions. The program does not have to run in any particular order. There can be lines in the program that never get run in a 2-3 hour period, or all day even. The programs are no longer dependent on linear logic. We don't have to run certain things just to get to a point to be able to do something in our program. And here's where these last two or three are the really big benefits here. First of all, it is easily and safely updated. Because let's go back to our veterinarians program. We have customers, we have animals, and we have doctors. If I make a change in the animal class or the animal objects area, that will not affect the programming in the doctors or the customers. Now, It may have a minimal effect on how they call certain procedures, but by and large, the functionality inside that animal class is encapsulated in there, and it's kind of segregated out from the rest of the program. So we can very easily make changes. We can also very easily add additional functionalities and document them and so forth. Also, our programs relate to real-life actions because animals certainly clearly have a certain place and purpose in our program. Doctors do and customers do. Then the big one, the really big one, is code reuse. Once I write a class for animals, then I can probably put maybe 70 or 80% of the code that I'm ever going to need for every animal that comes in here in that one class. And then I can use some other functionalities and features of C# like inheritance and overloading and so forth to adjust these between certain animals, but the code gets reused. Also, if I'm writing another application that uses doctors in a veterinary type world, I can simply copy that class over into there, or better yet, just expose that class globally in both programs, access that class and get that functionality. So this is a deep subject, and I don't know if I've confused you or helped you, but if a lot of this kind of left you confused, then you need to go out and read about object-oriented programming, look at some simple examples on it. I'll show you some in this course, but this is not really an object-oriented programming course, but I will show you in the next 2 or 3 classes. We're going to do a video on creating a class and some class tools and so forth, and you'll kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So in the creating a class video, we'll jump into the actual coding and code up a class and create an object from it and show you that. So anyway, that's object-oriented programming basics. So that gives you something to read and study.